It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Great to have you with us on this Friday edition of the show. Robert Littal in his weekly spot with us to talk about the top stories of the week. He had some very interesting comments himself on social media about the Jets situation with Aaron Rodgers. I want to ask him about that. Get his thoughts on LeBron James getting off social media, too, because I'm sure he's got an opinion about that. He's a huge Ohio State. He's an Ohio State alum, so we got to ask him about Ohio State and Indiana as well. Something to consider today, some baseball for you. MVP awards were handed out yesterday. No shock as to who won them. I'll tell you why I think it was the worst case scenario for Aaron Judge, despite the fact that he won the MVP. We will get into that. We got Page versus the Prince Week 12 in the NFL as well, our games to watch. And here is Sam Yarnell, ladies and gentlemen, with us, well, most of the week on the show. Sam, I watched this game last night, and the first thought that came to mind for me watching this game was, why do we put roofs on stadiums? Why are we doming these stadiums? Because this is what football is supposed to be. I know I sound old school, and, you know, I need John Facenda's voice in the background and some NFL Films music going in the background, but this is what football is in the wintertime is supposed to be. You know, you got a game that starts out, the field's green, everything's great. By the time it ends, they're doing snow angels. Weather can be the great equalizer. It is the unknown that from week to week you really don't know about when we get to this time of the year in particular cities around America where this can be an issue. I hate the fact that we have domed stadiums for this reason. I want to see games like this. And when you have weather as the great equalizer, it comes down to one or two plays and guys making plays. And Jameis Winston, in his typical Jameis Winston fashion, made plays, gave the ball away, and then made plays again. And Cleveland gets the unlikely victory. Hope you tailed me on the over. Oh, yes. We nailed it last night. Told you to take the over, which didn't look good, 10-6 late in the third quarter. But somehow the Browns and Steelers managed to account for a ton of points in this game. This game had everything, Sam. It really did. This game had everything. And by the way, last point, and then you can go. I'm not crushing the Steelers for losing to the Browns. Again, because of the weather. We know they play close games. You're in the snow. The Steelers are going to be fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, this was a fun game. I completely agree with you. Tough day for the army of domed stadium believers out there. Really is, because my goodness, that was a lot of propaganda against you last night. I do feel differently about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, they seem each week to get more and more lost, which is wild. Like the plays where Justin Fields would just come in and you knew they were running it. Justin Fields threw the ball, once all night, but they brought him in 6 times, including on a 4th down where the call was so obviously him running the ball right up the middle. I think he ended up getting swallowed up for a loss of 3, but it was like everyone on both sides of the ball, everyone in that stadium, everyone with an Amazon Prime account knew that Justin Fields was going to run that ball right up the gut. What are we doing here? There was a ton of head-scratching moments in this game, Jason, and, you know, I'll go back to it. A theme I've gone back to all season long. Quite frankly, Kevin Stefanski outcoached Mike Tomlin late in that game.
He did.
And that's what got his team the win. Mike Tomlin, and I hate to say this, took a page out of his college football or William and Mary teammate Sean McDermott's book and tried to coach this game not to lose rather than to win. As evidenced by tackling Nick Chubb on the 1-yard line with a minute and 12 seconds to go. Like, what are we doing? And so to me, I'm not worried about the Steelers. They'll still be a fine regular season team. They'll still make the playoffs. We know that. When it gets to the playoffs, though, yeah, I'm going to worry about the Pittsburgh Steelers because of this game, because they showed you that their coach is in it sometimes not to lose rather than to win. Interesting nugget about Mike Tomlin, and this is not to take anything away from him. He is a Mount Rushmore coach. Like, he is up there with the greats in terms of all-time football coaches. The guy has one playoff win, which we all know. His record in playoff games is 8-10. So if you take out that one playoff run, right, 4 games, that's a 4-10 record in the playoffs.
Can't take it away
outside of a Super Bowl run.
You can't take it away, though. I mean, that's just the reality.
No. But even with it, right, he's under 500 in the playoffs. I don't know. I think that, like, as much as Mike Tomlin is old reliable and, like, we know, look at George Pickens fighting with the cornerback on the Hail Mary, we know that locker room would lose it if he weren't the coach. He has an innate ability with players. His decision making is definitely starting to fade.
There was the tackle down near the goal line on Nick Chubb. That's as much about player football IQ as it is anything. I'm sure that they didn't want those guys to tackle him down there. So I'm not going to kill Tomlin for that. The other one, though, that you could go after him for was the decision to accept the penalty, which, by the way, took about a half hour. The decision to accept the penalty on 3rd and 2 would have been 4th and 2. Instead, they make it 3rd and 7, changes the play call. Jameis makes a great throw. They get a first down to Jerry Jeudy, who has all of a sudden become the second coming of Jerry Rice since getting to Cleveland. I'm sure Bronco fans would love this version of Jerry Jeudy right now. That call to me was the one that was more of the head scratcher in terms of what and clearly they gave him all day to think about it since he changed his mind about it multiple times. After the game, George Pickens feeling a little salty.
What do you guys try to take away from this loss? What's the message, in the locker room?
Just keep grinding. Like I said, conditions played a huge part in today's game. I don't really think the Cleveland Browns are a good team at all. I think the conditions kind of saved them today.
You guys good?
Yeah, we're done.
I can't believe one of Mike Tomlin's football players said that in the media. George Pickens might play every snap next game and not see a single target.
And they play this Browns team again in a couple of weeks, by the way, in Pittsburgh. Should be rather interesting. Hats off to Jameis Winston, by the way. He is a media darling now, man. Talk about a guy completely rehabbing his image. We're coming back. More Sports Wrap. The games we're watching this Sunday in the NFL is next. Welcome back on this Friday. Coming up in 10 minutes, our friend Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder, in his weekly spot to opine on the top stories of the week. Every week here on Sports Wrap, we like to give you a little flavor for Sunday. Be sort of like to give you some suggestions, what you should go watch on Sunday when it comes to NFL games by telling you what we're watching. Doesn't mean you have to copy us, but it's just some suggestions of what you might want to be watching and why on Sunday in the NFL. The games we are watching, Sam Yarnell, Week 12 edition in the NFL. What are you watching?
All right, Jason Page. Well, first, during the 1 o'clock window, since the Bills are on bye this week, I'll be locked into Cowboys Commanders. Listen, we know the trend with large favorites in the NFL this year and not being able to cover. So can Cooper Rush keep this a close game? I think Jaden Daniels has a spot against a bad Dallas defense to really set himself apart in the Rookie of the Year race. Bo Nix has kind of been creeping back in ever so slightly week by week with his great play. Yes. That's not to diminish Bo Nix at all. But with a really good game here, I'm talking, 250 plus rushing, maybe 250 plus passing, 75 plus rushing, 3 total touchdowns. Jaden Daniels sets himself apart as the unanimous, pretty much MVP or offensive rookie of the year, I should say. Not MVP, but maybe he'll creep into that MVP conversation. Who knows? Paul Skeens did it in baseball. In the afternoon slot, Jason Page, I'll be locked in on Cardinals Seahawks battle for the NFC West. Obviously, the riders on our Cardinals future here on the show should also be locked in. This game is huge in terms of momentum purposes. In that NFC West, obviously a divisional game. Kyler Murray's looked really good this year. It's as simple as that. Kyler Murray has looked really, really solid this season, especially after an up and down career so far, right? The former Heisman Trophy winner would seem to have like good season, bad season. It was like rookie of the year, bad season, good season, bad season. And here we are again, finding ourselves in the midst of what seems to be another good season for Kyler Murray. So I want to see the kid light up this Seattle Seahawks defense that has been hot and cold so far this year, right? In that Bills game, they really struggled to defend pretty much everything, but we've seen them in division games this year be really good defensively. So I'm interested to see what the Seahawks can do at home against the Cardinals. Cowboys, Commanders, Cardinals, Seahawks. Those are two games that I'll be locking in on this weekend.
You know, just before I get into my games, I think we often believe, and I've said this a million times before, and it still holds true 10 years from the first time I said it, that we live in this microwave society. We want everything fast. We want to just be able to take something that's frozen in the freezer, stick it in the microwave, and it comes out, voila, and it looks like a Gordon Ramsay meal. It doesn't work that way. There are we like to think that success in anything is a straight line. But there are struggles and bumps along the road and twists and turns and winding. Look at Anthony Richardson. Yes, it was just one game against the Jets last week. But we expected, 10 games into his NFL career as a starter, basically, that Anthony Richardson was going to be the next coming of whatever. Take your great quarterback of choice, Josh Allen. I mean, anything. And you could go on and on and on and talk about these situations where success is not a straight line. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had to sit and wait around for 2 years, or 3 years waiting to play behind Brett Favre, and then he gets in there and he plays. And at the start, it's, can Aaron Rodgers win the big one? I used to always remember Colin Cowherd sitting there saying, "You'll never win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers," until they did. And so, we often think of success as just this straight upward trajectory. It doesn't always work that way. And Kyler Murray is an embodiment of that mindset. And he has played really well this year. And I do think we need to throw him his flowers. By the way, real quick, Cardinals minus 115 right now to win the NFC West. What'd you get him at before the season started?
Plus 750.
That's bargain shopping at its best. The 49ers right now are 340 on the plus side. The Seahawks plus 490 and the Rams plus 500.
Shout out to the Sports Wrap, because Jason Page, this would be 2 NFL seasons in a row in the 2 NFL seasons you and I have been doing this show that we gave out, if the Cardinals were to win the NFC West, a division winner at massive plus money early in the season that went on to win. It was the Texans last year at 4.5 to 1 plus 450, and now it's plus 750 with the Cardinals. We're doing well over on this show. You got to keep it locked.
It's you. It's all you. I'll give you credit on that. If I'm gonna take my victory lap on a stupid over bet on the Steelers and Browns, I got to give you yours when it comes to that. Yes, sir.
I just got to say really quick, what's interesting about that, and I remembered it when you were talking about it, not everyone cashed on the over. The line in that game opened on Monday at 43.5 and was bet down to 36.5. The game landed 43.
But here's the thing, was it bet down or was it because of the weather?
The weather as well, obviously. Yeah. It came crashing down.
Yeah, it certainly did. My 2 games to watch this week, pretty simple. Chiefs and Panthers. When you get Patrick Mahomes coming out after the loss to Buffalo last week saying, hey, this is fuel for the fire. I want to see a firestorm this week when it comes to this team. I want to see them stomp the Panthers. Matt Verderam came on the show this week, and we all know Matt's affinity, his affection for the Chiefs. He talks about them a lot. Even he said he thinks this will be a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. It shouldn't be. The Chiefs are a lot better than the Carolina Panthers. Go out there this week and prove it. That's game number 1. Niners-Packers. I mean, it's getting late here for the 49ers. They got to get a win, and they got to get it in a tough spot this week. And we've got another weather game. Go look at the pictures of Lambeau Field right now. It is covered in snow. So we've got another weather game on the horizon between the Niners and the Packers this week. Matter of fact, I'm curious to see what the line on that game is right now. Niners,
It's
Packers.
Green Bay -3 because Jason Page, we don't know if Brock Purdy is starting this game.
I'd
At
be
the time
shocked.
of this recording, we have not gotten confirmation that it won't be Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs for the Niners in this game. And if it
Astronaut,
is,
baby.
they're playing for their season.
46.5 as a total, by the way. Give me the under. If weather's going to be what they're saying, I would right now run to your nearest legal bookmaking institution and say under 46.5. So those are the two games I am watching this week. A bonus, by the way, Ohio State and Indiana at the
Give me
Horseshoe.
the Hoosiers.
At the Horseshoe. I'm pumped for that this weekend. Indiana's been waiting a long time to make a statement here. Here's your chance. Because if you lose one, you're probably done when it comes to the playoff. We're coming back. More Sports Wrap. Robert Littal is next. Welcome back to this Friday edition of the show. Sam Yarnell will return in 20. Send him to the virtual green room so that we can welcome in this guy. Robert Littal is here, ladies and gentlemen. Black Sports Online founder, friend of the show. Look at that spiffy new background. There aren't pictures falling off the walls.
That's
You got a
still trapped in
microphone.
young person's body.
It looks fantastic. I love it. I was just talking yesterday with somebody, not to go too far afield because I have a couple of things I want to talk about with you, but I was just talking with somebody yesterday about the dramatic shift in media and how COVID, for as awful as it was, and all the lives lost and all the productivity lost and how it changed so many lives and altered so many lives, that at the same time, it was a godsend for our industry. Because the days of having to go into some fancy, high-tech, expensive studio and companies having to spend all this money to have employees all in one place and all these different, bells and whistles, it's been replaced by this.
Yes.
It's been replaced by things like this background and your background and all these different people who are operating from home studios. It was a blessing in disguise. It really was.
Yeah, I think for someone, especially if you wanted to get into it independently, and maybe you're in Oklahoma or you're in Idaho, the ability to be able to get your voice out via digitally video and things of that nature to millions of people without having to be in New York or LA or Atlanta or something like that definitely gives voice to different opinions in different sports, which is, what we need. So we don't hear the same people over and over and over again.
And by the way, for our audience, the psychedelics have worn off. You're not experiencing some weird high. Robert Littal's microphone is changing colors while you watch the segment. You're not. It's not drugs. It's not. You're not like hallucinating. His microphone is changing colors.
I like things to match my personality. It makes me happy.
I love it. I want more snow games. After watching last night and seeing how weather can be the great equalizer, because there's no question the Steelers have more talent than the Cleveland Browns. But at the end of the day, weather was the big equalizer. And then it just comes down to a superstar making a play here or there. And all the fans stayed. I mean, that fan base in Cleveland has been watching such terrible football for so long. They said, we're staying. We want to be here for this. And you had one of the more memorable Thursday night games. But it calls to mind to me that we need less roofs on stadiums and more of this.
Well, I will have more snow games as long as Jameis is the quarterback and all of them. And then I'll be down, with that. I'm sitting. You're in Nevada and I'm in California, so we're very comfortable sitting at home watching those games. And like I said, those fans are definitely G's to be doing that. I will push back on one thing. I don't think that the Browns and the Steelers are that far apart in talent, to be honest with you. I think the NFL, if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and, you look at the worst team in the league, the Giants or the Jaguars, I do not think there's a big wide gap. I think it's a lot of coaching, a lot of other things maybe behind the scenes, but it doesn't surprise me. The Browns have 3 wins and 2 of them against the Ravens and the Steelers. So I think that any given Sunday, it's a cliche, but I think it's true for the NFL.
Yeah, I do think there's something to be said for that. And I did this exercise the last couple of years. I haven't done it this year. I go through and look and see how many one-score games there are for each team. And you'd be shocked to see how many games, even for the worst teams, that at the end, it just winds up being a one-score game. That every game in the fourth quarter, there's some opportunity for a team, no matter how bad they are. It feels like every week in the league that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the Browns just made a bad decision with Deshaun Watson. It seems like the Steelers made a good decision with Russell, Wilson and Justin Fields. I mean, that could be the difference between being 8-2 and 2-8. Daniel Jones, it's just a bad decision. It's just sometimes, or you pick a bad coach or you just have a bad injury. I think the NFL, the greatness of the NFL to me is that when you come in on Sunday or Thursday or whatever day they're playing, you're not exactly sure what you're going to get, and that's what makes it interesting.
I might get some pushback for saying this, so I'm thinking about it in my head as I'm about to say it. But I'm gonna say it. I want to see your authentic reaction because I was just thinking about this as you were talking. You know what Jameis Winston is? He's Black Brett Favre. Why I'm talking about from the way he plays. Yeah. He's Black Brett Favre.
Well, he's not stealing from welfare people, so that's
that's what I'm just talking about from a playing perspective.
But I call it the Jameis Winston experience because he has this type of confidence that is kind of crazy, in the fact that he just throws it. I mean, it's interesting. It's like, what would you prefer? Someone like Jameis who has no fear, or someone like, say, a Daniel Jones that can't seem to quite pull the trigger, and therefore that holds him, back. I feel like James is always gonna give you a chance to win, and it's gonna give you a chance to lose. And,
yes. Yes.
But it should be noted that when Jameis plays, his team seems to be behind him.
Yep.
And that's part of the battle of being an NFL quarterback.
Real quick, I got 2 minutes left in the segment. Ohio State, Indiana. I know you're pumped. Indiana, a 10.5 point dog right now, going into Ohio State. Give me some thoughts on it.
There's one way that Indiana can beat Ohio State. Ohio State is having a horrible time with their offensive line. A lot of injuries. Couple of what continue to be first round picks and went down. The center towards Achilles in practice yesterday. The way you beat Ohio State is you have to control the ball, you have to run the ball, and you have to limit, their possessions. They're basically the greatest show on turf. They're like the Rams, back in the day. So I think Indiana has a chance. I think college football this year is much more like the NFL, where the difference between the elite and what you would consider the non-elite, in Indiana is not, that great. With that being said, we're going to run them out the building.
not even going to be close? No?
No, I think it will be close, honestly. I don't think it'll be a blowout because we really haven't blown out anyone. I think that coach from Indiana, when I went back and started doing some research, he's the real deal. And they've had a bye week. So, they've had 2 weeks for basically maybe the biggest game in Indiana football history.
Yeah.
They're going to come out with guns blazing.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, when I looked at the playoff bracket for this week as it stands going into this weekend, I said, does Notre Dame want to see Alabama? I'm like, no way. Notre Dame does not want to see Alabama in an opening round game. Just saying.
I love the playoffs. I don't like the way just real quickly.
Yeah, real quick.
Are you unique? Because you have to get at least to the conference championship games to really know what's going to be happening. So we just argued over nothing.
Robert Littal is going to hang around for one more segment. I got a couple more topics to get into. This Friday Sports Wrap continues. All right, we continue on this Friday edition of the show. One more segment with our friend Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder. You see his handle on X below. I'm starting to wonder if there's going to be anybody left on X to watch anything we put up there soon. I mean, people are fleeing in large numbers.
People are leaving, but Twitter X is going to be one of those things that there's always it's gonna be there until somebody puts it out of the misery.
Last one out. Please turn out the lights. I mean, I've watched like my follower count over since the election basically just go like this. I'm like, where are y'all going? They're going to Blue Sky. They're going to Blue Sky. I'm surprised. It's
actually, I mean, any social media platform that's been around for what, almost 20 years now.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. I thought it would be dead for a long time ago.
LeBron James is leaving social media. Were you surprised this was as big of a story as it became?
A little bit, but I talked about these celebrities writing these press releases, and you just opening yourself up for just go. Just leave, and then maybe somebody asks you, maybe a media person, but I know LeBron is like super, super, super famous, but I don't know if anybody wakes up in the morning and says, hey, let me see what LeBron has tweeted today. I just don't feel that from people like with celebrities.
Yes. That's what I said on the show. Why. It's exactly what I said on the show yesterday. I have never woken up in the morning and go, and now I follow him. But I've never woken up in the morning going, I want to see what LeBron's not going to be on. I don't know how I'm going to survive.
It's funny. I'll tell you a quick story.
And I love LeBron.
Many years ago, I had worked, I was working BSO like a madman, just trying to get it to be big. And I've worked for probably 3-4 straight years without taking a day off. I mean, weekends. And I remember I said, I'm going to take a vacation and I'm not going to do anything for 3-4 days. And I felt like people would miss me, right? And after those 3-4 days, I turned my phone off, no social media, nothing. I've turned the phone back on. I had no notifications. And it wasn't that the fact that people didn't like, what I tweeted about it. They don't care. They just went to the next person.
That's what we are.
And I learned a lesson, that day. And that's the lesson I think LeBron probably will learn. But let me tell you this also. I think he probably got tired of people talking about Bronny. And he got tired of people asking him, ain't no party like a Diddy party. Because that's all I see under his comments.
Yeah, I do see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I get it. Social media could be this negative place. And now you've got people out there saying things like, why do we all have to be so negative? Well, being critical of a guy making $50 million a year, who, by the way, fans help pay the salary of, I don't think it's out of bounds for us to criticize athletes. Don't make it personal. And one of the earliest pieces of advice I got from a guy named Scott Masteller, who was an old boss at ESPN, wasn't my boss, but a boss there, and I had lunch with him one day. He said, just don't make it personal. And if you don't make it personal, that's fine. But there's a line about, does it become personal because his son is playing, and now you're saying things about his son. Now to him, that becomes personal, but it may not necessarily be personal. It's just general criticism.
He's an NBA player, and we criticize. I saw something today or a couple of days ago where they were on ESPN and they were like, you need to apologize to Jason Tatum. Why? Like, what have we done to Jason Tatum?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not Steve Kerr, and even then, I don't think he should apologize. They won the gold medal. Like, he won a championship. He has, like he said, he has $400 million. He has a very good looking, wife. What exactly am I apologizing for if I say, I think Jaylen Brown is a better player? Like, that's just an opinion. Oh, we have to apologize now. The apology should be as loud as the criticism. No, it shouldn't. If somebody changes your opinion, you can say, hey, I was wrong about that.
Yes.
I thought he was this and he's that now. But I don't have to apologize because once again, like you said, it's not personal.
Nope.
We just giving opinions.
Yep, I agree. Before I let you go, I want to talk about the Jets for a couple of minutes. And, we saw another loss for them last weekend. They fire the GM, Joe Douglas. I went all in on just the failure that Woody Johnson has been as an owner of this franchise, and the fact that he's taken a team that was worth, I don't know, like $600 million when he bought it, and now it's worth like $7 billion. And I'm like, only in America, as Don King would say. But you had some really interesting thoughts on your X, and you put a video up talking about Aaron Rodgers, and I wanted to give you a minute or two here just to talk a bit about the Aaron Rodgers role in this Jets failure.
Well, is Aaron Rodgers throughout his career is someone that has to have control. It's someone that comes in and wants things, his way. But when it goes all wrong, he's never the one that takes the fall. And I equated it to a manager or someone coming into a big company and they came in with a big bluster. Oh, he came from somewhere else and he was good. He's going to come and change things for us. And he bankrupts the company. but he gets a bonus. You know what I'm saying? He gets a promotion. It's the lower level people that ends up getting fired and laid off. And I didn't feel like Aaron Rodgers took enough responsibility. He basically got Robert Saleh, who was doing a solid job. You know, Robert Saleh wasn't the one that said take, you know, the MILF Hunter for quarterback, but he did a solid job. He gets him fired. He gets the GM fired that has brought in some very good players. You know, he's going to get players fired. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to retire and make $10, $15, $20 million working for ESPN or working for the NFL Network or being Pat McAfee's co-host. And that's to me, that's just not fair.
The Giants, by the way, and I just want to break this here on the air. In the window that we're recording in, we're literally only going to have 20 seconds to react. Daniel Jones has been released by the Giants.
Wow. That statement was interesting. I feel I don't want to say I feel bad for Daniel Jones, but let me just say this last part. Let me just say this one part.
Yes.
And I say this to everybody. Everybody listen. Athletes don't force owners to pay them. So never get upset at the athlete for taking the money. Nobody put $120 million. Nobody put a gun to their head and say, give Daniel Jones $120 million.
You're 100% right. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online. Thanks for reacting to that, and all the best, my friend.
Have a great weekend.
All right, let's take you to segment 5 on this Friday edition of Sports Wrap. In 10 minutes, it's odds and ends. All right, Sam Yarnell, something to consider on this Friday. MVP awards handed out in Major League Baseball on Thursday. No shock. Your MVPs are Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, both in unanimous fashion. The first Yankee unanimous MVP for Judge, since Mickey Mantle did it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, great day for Aaron Judge. I saw ESPN put out a story. Is he the greatest home run hitter of this generation? Blah, blah, blah. Pure home run hitter, blah, blah, blah. All that good stuff. Here's my take on it. I love Aaron Judge. Anybody who watches this show knows I'm a big Yankees fan. The worst case was Aaron Judge getting unanimous MVP. Because, yeah, you have that to sort of put on your mantle. Yeah, you have it to put on your Wikipedia, your resume, so to speak. But at the same time, it only raises the level of disappointment in what happened this year. And it only raises the level of expectations for what is still to come with a Yankees team that obviously is still going to be a part of the AL East picture and the AL postseason picture for years to come, with or without Juan Soto, by the way. Because if they don't get Juan Soto, trust me, they're still going to go out and spend money somewhere. But I do think Juan Soto will ultimately be back in pinstripes. That being said, Sam, the expectations only rise for Aaron Judge when you win this award in this kind of fashion, and you have the disappointment that he had in this offseason, in this postseason, and has had in many postseasons prior to this.
Yeah, and Jason, to your point, I think what speaks even more to the letdown that was the Yankees season is that not only did they have the unanimous MVP, they had the third place vote getter as well. Like, they had 2 of the top 3 players in the league, and they didn't win the World Series. It's crazy. Very well said, though, I will say. Personally, my qualm on the American League side of things is as much as Juan Soto was the third place nominee, I don't think he deserved to be the third place nominee. I think when you look at a guy like Jose Ramirez, who got 184 total points in terms of this MVP voting system. There's a guy who, when we talk about value and leading your team, Jose Ramirez did that more so for the Guardians than Juan Soto did for the Yankees. That's not to say that he's a better baseball player, but value-wise, Jose Ramirez to me just meant more to his team than Juan Soto did to his. All that said, I think in terms of the top 2, there really was no question, and the voters got it completely right unanimously both ways, with Judge going 1 and Witt going 2. We kind of all foresaw that, and I'm glad that that is how it shook out, because that is how it deserved to shake out, Jason Page. I don't think that there's really any argument that you could make against Bobby Witt not being the second most valuable player in the league this year.
You want to talk about the least interesting MVP conversation in the history of baseball? It's in the National League. Because who cares? We knew Shohei Ohtani was going to win it. I mean, it's not a surprise to anybody who's followed what's going on this year. But just to be a little retrospective, I guess, and think about the way the season started and the way it ended for Shohei Ohtani. You want to talk about, again, no straight lines to success. The whole thing with Ippei Mizuhara that went on before the start of the season, and then as the season started, for this team in South Korea. And then you have the situation, with him chasing 50-50. Then the World Series, he gets hurt. He has to have surgery here in the offseason. He got married just before the start of the year. All the mystery surrounding his dog. You just run through it. I mean, it's been a hell of a season when you think about everything that Shohei Ohtani went through and where we are right now on November 22nd. It's pretty amazing.
I got to see Ippei Mizuhara's betting portfolio. I must know if he had a ticket on Shohei to win National League MVP this year. I got to know. Because, listen, if all of the money that he had to pay back was riding on Ohtani winning MVP, we're talking about galaxy brain stuff from these guys. In all seriousness, unquestionably the best player in the National League, the most valuable player in the National League, on the best team in the National League, that was, in the end, the best team in the world. This was so easy. The Lindor thing, getting 23 second place votes, definitely screams recency bias to me.
Sure.
Like the voters watched the last, they waited for, like yesterday we were talking about the how the voters treated after Paul Skeens debuted, they just stopped watching Louis Hill. It's like once Shohei Ohtani hit 50-50, they stopped watching Shohei Ohtani and started tuning into every Mets game and just completely forgot about the first 4 months of the season where Francisco Lindor was replacement level. Whatever with that, but you don't get trophies for second place, so I'm not that mad.
Last but not least, automated strike zone coming to Major League Baseball for the preseason next year, spring training. 19 different ballparks, something like that will have it for spring training, or Major League Baseball is going to try it out. You will not see it in the major leagues next year. Calm down. But the challenge system could very much be in play when it comes to the 2026 season in Major League Baseball.
You and I talked about this over the season. I saw a game during this last season with that challenge system in place. It was fun to watch.
There is a lot of back and forth, though. Some players like it, some players don't. Bob Nightingale, I watched him on CNN yesterday, who contributes on this show sometimes, said it best. Major League Baseball is doing this for the betting money. You can bet on every pitch. Strike ball. Want to bet on it? Go ahead. Odds and ends are next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Don't forget, SportsWrap weekends, maybe right here on this affiliate that you're watching us on, this station. If not, check your local listings for time and schedule. SportsWrap podcast, available Monday through Friday. Go and check it out. Everything you missed from the week, it's right there. The show is right there. We even take the commercials out so you just watch the show. Nice little 45-minute capsule. Also, the SportsWrap Substack, where you can get Sam Yarnell's insider betting picks, clips from the show, extended interviews, all of that and more. SportsWrap Substack, go and subscribe today. It's free, and free is for me, and it's also for Sam Yarnell. All right, if it's Friday on SportsWrap, that could only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Friday, and that means it's time for the weekly face-off for sports betting bragging rights. It's Paige versus the Prince on the SportsWrap.
I feel like we've done this before. It's the SportsWrap. Thank you, Chad Erickson, for loaning us your voice. All right, Sam Yarnell, Week 12 in the NFL. We were both 2-2 last week. the epitome of mediocrity. Win some, lose some. What do you got for me?
Well, Jason Page, a reminder, the Prince's people still well above 50%. I believe the 2-2 last week takes us down to 58% on the year. So we're no longer considered sharp, but we'll still take that. We're still making the people money. That's what we're here to do. All right, I got a 4-pack for you this week, as I do each and every week. A dog, a favorite, and 2 totals. We'll start with the dog. The dog is barking in Houston. I like the Tennessee Titans this week, plus the 7.5. Why? That Titans defense, they are the real deal. We have not talked enough this season about how truly good that Titans defense is. I don't care how good the offense is. I care that the defense is good enough to keep this game within a touchdown. Love it at 7.5. Give me the Titans plus 7.5 against the Houston Texans this weekend.
Wow.
Next, to the Meadowlands. Over 41.5 in Tampa Bay against the Giants. Why? Well, this is how I'm going to choose to bet the new quarterback bump. We'll say that the Giants are going to score a lot of points. Listen, the Buccaneers have proven to us that they can score a lot of points in games this year. I think the Giants at least have a chance to maybe keep this one close for part of the game, so I'll take over 41.5 in Buccaneers Giants. To Green Bay, where I like the favorite. That's right. Give me the Packers minus the nice round 3 against the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, at the time of this recording, we do not know who is going to be the starter for San Francisco in this game, but based on this line, I'm going to go ahead and guess it's not going to be Brock Purdy. I still like the Packers in this game, even if it is Brock Purdy, because of what the Niners have shown you that they're not able to do over the last few weeks, especially coming off of their loss last week. But at the end of the day, I truly believe in the Packers to win this game and win it by a touchdown or more. So give me the Green Bay Packers minus the nice round 3. And finally, we'll go Lions, Colts, over 50.5. I know it's a high number, but listen, I think there are points to be had left and right in this game. We know about all the defensive injuries for the Lions, which continued to rack up last week. And Anthony Richardson, Jason talked about it earlier in the show, came into his own last week. I think he can continue that. I think the team starts to build around him. And that offense in Detroit, we know how explosive they can be in any game. So give me over 50.5 in Colts versus Lions. Re-rack it for you really quick. The Titans plus 7.5 against the Houston Texans. I like the Packers minus 3 at home against the San Francisco 49ers. We'll go over 41.5 in Buccaneers Giants and over 50.5 in Lions Colts. Jason Page.
I actually had that Lions Colts game over 50.5 as one of my games, and I at the last second changed it. But so I'm with you, though. Not because I didn't change it for any particular reason. It's just other games I might have felt a tad bit stronger about. But I'm actually with you on that. I kind of like that pick. I do have Lions Colts in my docket, though, so let's get to it. Panthers and Chiefs. Look, I'm with Matt Verderam on this, and I'm with what my eyeballs have shown me all season long. The Chiefs just play close games. They play down to their level of competition. They play up to their level of competition. Give me plus 10.5. I'll take the Panthers at home, getting the 10.5. Also screams backdoor cover possibilities as well. Vikings and Bears, I'll take the under. Give me under 39.5 with these two teams. Bears defense has shown how good it has been all season long. I will take the under in that game. Minnesota and Sam Darnold. To me, just it feels like they're living on borrowed time for where this thing ultimately winds up at the end of the year, regardless of whether they make the playoffs or not. I think we know what the Vikings are at this point, and that is mid. Cardinals and Seahawks. The Seahawks plus 1.5. You never know what Geno Smith you're going to get late in games. I think it's going to be a close game. I'll take Seattle at home plus the 1.5. I am going to buck the trend on what I typically do in games like this one. Typically, home dogs, I will go with the home dog. This time I'm going against myself. May live to regret it. Give me the Lions minus 7.5. Big win last week for Indianapolis. I expect a little bit of a come down there. And there is no come down in Detroit. They're playing the best football of anybody in the league consistently. I'll take the Lions minus the 7.5. So there you got it. Panthers plus 10.5. Bears, Vikings under 39.5. Cardinals, Seahawks plus 1.5 to the Seahawks. Lions minus 7.5. We're out of time, Sam Yarnell. We'll see everybody back here next week for more Sports Wrap. Thanks to Robert Littal. Thanks to you for watching.